we've just adopted a press statement, the draft of which was prepared by the Russian delegation. The members of the Security Council strongly condemned the detention of a group of more than 20 peacekeepers of the United Nations Disengagement Observer Force within the area of limitation east of the B line earlier today by armed elements of the Syrian opposition. The members of the Security Council demanded the unconditional and immediate release of all the detained UN peacekeepers and called upon all parties to cooperate with UNDOF in good faith to enable it to operate freely and to ensure full security of its personnel. The members of the Security Council reaffirmed their unconditional support for UNDOF. This is the text of the statement. We requested a briefing from Hervé Lansous, Under Secretary General for Peacekeeping Operation. He described the situation to us, and on the basis of that briefing, this statement was adopted by members of the Security Council. Please.
To the Golan following this incident and other incidents with UNDOF?
Well, this, I suppose, is a matter which the Secretariat has to look into, because the security of UNDOF and safety of UNDOF has clearly been endangered by recent developments. Please.
Who's responsible for the security then? It's usually the host government. So in this case, are you considering the Assad regime
well,
responsible?
this is a tricky situation because, as you know, it is an area of separation. So it is not really controlled by either Syria or Israel. And the fact of the matter is that recently armed groups, obviously associated in some form and shape with the Syrian opposition, have been showing up there, and that was causing situations when the Syrian armed forces were also engaged. This is something which is not in any way addressed or envisaged for by the UNDOF mandate. So UNDOF is caught up in a predicament where they are clearly threatened and impeded in terms of carrying out their activities, but they cannot do much about it. In this particular case, the situation, of course, has gotten even worse, because they actually were captured, and some demands are made by those who captured them on the Syrian government. So there are talks now between the Secretariat, the United Nations, and the captors, and we hope that, as demanded by the Security Council, the UN personnel, they are going to be released immediately.
As far as you know, does the government have any control over that, over the Syrian side of that border, and also how many of the kidnapped people are Russian?
Yeah, this is an area of separation. They are not in control. This is a kind of a no man's land in a way. And on the
Syrian side of that area, there used to be.
They don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't.
Anything about them?
No, I can't.
Ambassador, did Mr. Lazus, did he give any confirmation to whether they were Syrian opposition? Did he identify the rebel group? Was there any fighting between the UN and these forces? And what were the demands you talked about?
That was a group which is associated with Syrian armed opposition group elements, and that was made clear by Mr. Lansous. There was no fighting, according to his briefing to us, between the UNDOF personnel and those who captured them, but my understanding is that they took over the trucks in which the UNDOF personnel was moving around.
The name group, the Al Yarmouk Brigade, and is a demand to pull out of Jamla, a village called Jamla?
I cannot recall. There were some demands associated with this actual situation on the ground in Syria, but I cannot go into specifics.
Ambassador, do you believe the Arab League could have a role here, and particularly Arab states that have a relationship with the armed opposition?
I believe they should release them immediately, and whoever have influence on them, I happen to think, speaking in my national capacity, but there are those who have much more direct bearing on armed opposition groups than the Arab League, and they should immediately tell them, as the Security Council members have just done, that they should stop this very dangerous course of action.
How many Russians do you think there are?
There were no nationalities mentioned.
But as far as you know, you should know Russian. Whether
I don't know at this point.
I was going to ask the same thing. Are any Russians amongst them? Yeah.
In your national capacity, first of all, did you expect an incident like that, and why do you think something like this happened about Russia? What is thinking? What is his thought about it? Why something? Did you expect your national capacity that an incident like that will sooner or later will happen?
You know,
and what is
of course, the specifics. One always hopes that people, even in a crisis situation like the one associated in Syria, behave in a sort of a civilized manner, respect international law, and respect what the peacekeepers are doing. In this particular case, of course, the situation is particularly unacceptable and bizarre. That UNDOF are unarmed, and they have nothing to do with the situation in Syria. They are there on a completely different mission. So there is no reason at all, under any circumstances, any kind of a sick imagination to try to harm those people. So clearly gross disrespect for United Nations, gross disrespect of international norms of behavior is involved. But let me tell you, in my national capacity, that it seems that lately some people are trying very hard in order to extend the geography of the Syrian conflict. Yesterday, or the day before yesterday, there was the massacre on the territory of Iraq when over 40 Syrian unarmed soldiers were killed, along with the 9 Iraqis who were accompanying them. Today there is this incident on the other side, on this no man's land between Syria and Israel. So somebody is trying very hard in order to try to blow this crisis up.
Did the Council get a letter from Syria today about Turkish support for what was called a Libyan ship full of arms?
I cannot confirm that. There is a lot of correspondence, so I have to double check on whether anything of this sort has happened. Please.
Another issue, do we have a set time for the North Korean vote tomorrow?
We are aiming at 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Any challenges to any amendments to the resolution?
Not that I know of. Not serious amendments anyway.
On the record, what Ambassador Torsella said about countries drinking and being inebriated during budget negotiations, there was a hint at certain countries who might have opposed the U.S. What's your response in your national capacity
My
to that
national response is there should be no drinking during business sessions. And I'm going to give very clear instructions to that effect to my delegation. After is a personal matter. We all have our private lives, don't we? Thank you very much.